Why was Goku's ability to read minds never explained or brought up again? This is a Reddit post that was made in June of 2026. And well, Goku's ability to read minds was explained in the manga and in the anime. But I will say this, the English dub erased that explanation. So in today's edition of Dragon Ball Dictionary, I'm going to go back to the original Japanese and show you where Toriyama explained why Goku has telepathic powers! Wah, 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 wah. Hey guys, just a couple quick things before we get into the main part of the video. First of all, I've got a new t-shirt out over at mekanekosushi.com. It's an awesome, completely new design. It's a literal interpretation of Mecha Neko Sushi. It's a robo sushi cat done by my good friend in Japan, Akihiro Horai. Check it out over at mekanekosushi.com. Link in the pinned comment. Also, you can follow me on X, Instagram, and Blue Sky at Tony R. Vega. I'm regularly dropping short videos about my travels in Japan as somebody who is legally blind. I've got a bunch of stories that I'm sharing over there, and I'm going to be posting a lot over there when I'm back in Japan in the fall doing another long distance walk and a tandem bicycle ride across the Tohoku region. And you can also check out my podcast, Japan Station. I talk about recent interesting things going on in Japan, trendy stuff, and I do deep dives into travel stuff and all that kind of stuff. So if you're into Japan stuff, check out my podcast, Japan Station. All the links are down in the description. All right, so where is the explanation of Goku's ability to read minds? Well, it's all the way back in the Red Ribbon Army saga. Specifically, it happens the first time Goku meets Whiskers the Wonder Cat, or as, well, Japan knows him, Karin. There's a part during their first encounter where Karin basically asks Goku, so why are you here? Why did you come here to get the water? Why do you want to become stronger? Goku, of course, is not a particularly eloquent speaker, so when he actually tries to explain why he's there and why he wants the water, he ends up stumbling over his words. Then Karin says, okay, enough, just shut up. And then he reads Goku's mind. Goku is, of course, surprised because he's never had his mind read, especially not by a cat. And so he questions Karin about this. And Karin responds by saying something along the lines of, you can't call yourself a sennin if you can't even read minds. Okay, so then what's a sennin? Well, in Dragon Ball, it's typically translated as hermit. And it's a term that's used quite a bit because in Japanese, Master Roshi is known as Muten Roshi and Kame Sennin. Kame Sennin basically means turtle hermit. And then of course there's the crane hermit, so he's known in Japanese as Tsuru Sennin. Again, we get that word sennin here. Hermit is a valid translation, but it doesn't fully capture all the nuance in the original Japanese. There's several other possible translations, including sage, wizard, and immortal. But things go deeper than that because sennin is the Japanese term for something in Chinese called a Xian. Sorry, my Chinese pronunciation sucks. Xian are from Taoism. They're often referred to as sages or wizards or even immortals.
Xian is anything that cultivates to a level that allows them to gain a form of immortality, and they usually belong to the higher realms. They can go up to the celestial palace, they have powers, and they're good. So a human can cultivate and become a xian, a yao can cultivate and become a xian, and it's a state that you can gain even if you're born not as it.
Xian are closely associated with very remote areas, like mountains. They train extensively, sometimes physical ascetic training or some kind of mental training like meditation, or it can even take the form of martial arts. Through these practices, they attain basically a form of spiritual awakening, and because of that, they often are shown to have mystical powers like flight and extremely long lives or just flat out immortality. Going back to Dragon Ball, in this universe, according to Karin, the ability to read minds is a pretty basic ability for a sennin. He says it really bluntly here. If you can't even do that, you don't deserve to be called a sennin. So if that's the case, then what about the other sennin that we see in the show? Does Master Roshi have the ability to read somebody's mind? Yeah, it seems that he does. So if we go back to the 21st Tenkaichi martial arts tournament, we get a moment in which Master Roshi seems to read Nam's mind. I say seem because it's not 100% confirmed, but it's pretty much 100% confirmed. The thing is that Master Roshi never outright says that he reads Nam's mind. In Japanese, Master Roshi uses the phrase kokoro o minuku. This means something like to see through somebody, to see through somebody's intentions. This is a phrase you can use in daily conversation in Japanese. It would not sound weird at all. However, Karin, in the moment that I talked about earlier, uses the phrase kokoro o yomu. This literally means to read somebody's mind, and you normally wouldn't use this in daily conversation because normally it would be used to refer to the superhuman ability of reading somebody's mind. So arguably there's a bit of ambiguity in Master Roshi's statement. However, given the fact that later Karin makes it very clear that sennin can read minds, and the fact that in the 22nd Tenkaichi martial arts tournament, we see Master Roshi communicate telepathically with the crane hermit, I think it's pretty safe to assume that, yeah, Master Roshi can read minds. And by the way, given all this, I would say that it seems pretty likely that the crane hermit can also read minds. And before I go into Goku, let's talk about Kami. So Kami is basically the ultimate sennin. The walking stick that Kami uses is basically the same as the one used by Karin and the one used by Master Roshi. Basically, that walking stick is Toriyama's way of indicating this is an old and wise character. A sennin. Also, it works with the whole Xian thing because there were Xian that were depicted using staffs or walking sticks or crutches. For example, one particularly famous Xian named Li Tie Guai, again, sorry for my pronunciation, he was known for having an iron crutch. In fact, his name literally means Iron Crutch Li. And Kami wasn't born a deity. No, he had to earn it. He had to train himself. He had to climb the tower. He had to expel the evil from within himself. So even though Kami's never outright called a sennin, he's a sennin, right? He fits the description perfectly. It's just that on top of being a sennin, he's also the deity of Earth. And by the way, guys, if you allow me to get serious for just a moment, the other day I was outside when all of a sudden an old man with a long white beard and this walking stick flew down from the heavens. And, well, at first he started speaking Chinese to me, and, well, I don't know Chinese. So then he switched to English, and I said, thank you very much. And then he said, do you know what a sennin is? And I said, well, yeah, I know what a sennin is. And he said, do you want to become a sennin? And I said, I guess, sure. What do I have to do? And he said, oh, wait, no, you can't become a sennin, but your viewers can. All they have to do is hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, and drop a comment down below. Let's see if this old man that I totally did not make up for the sake of begging you to engage with the video is correct. All right, let's continue with the video. But seriously, guys, thanks for all the support. Help me grow the channel. All right, now let's talk about Goku. In the Saiyan Saga, we see Goku communicate telepathically with both Krillin and Gohan. And then on Namek, we see Goku read Krillin's mind. On top of that, Goku lives in a remote mountain area. He's constantly training. He's pure of heart. And check out this illustration that Akira Toriyama did of Old Man Goku. He's holding a walking stick, just like Master Roshi. Karin and Kami. So even though Goku isn't an old man, he doesn't refer to himself as a sennin, and nobody calls him a sennin. Pretty much everything about Goku screams sennin. It's kind of like if it walks like a duck and it talks like a duck, right? If it walks like a sennin and it talks like a sennin, it's probably a sennin.
Goku, did you just read my mind?
Yeah,
But how could you?
Muffin button.
So if Goku is a sennin, when did he become a sennin? Well, it's impossible to know exactly because Toriyama never makes it explicit, but here's my theory. I think there's a good chance that it happened when Goku was training with Kami and Mr. Popo. I say this because Kami is, of course, the ultimate sennin. It makes sense that Goku would achieve a higher level of spiritual awareness while training with the ultimate sennin. On top of that, at the end of the 23rd Tenkaichi Martial Arts Tournament, Kami actually expresses that he wants Goku to become the next Kami. I find it hard to believe that somebody who hasn't even reached sennin status would get offered the job of Kami. But here's the thing, even if Goku attains some level of enlightenment while training with Kami and Mr. Popo, it's totally possible that Goku didn't realize this. And as a result, he didn't realize that he now was capable of telepathy. Anyway, after the 23rd Tenkaichi Martial Arts Tournament, he marries Chi-Chi, Gohan is born, and then Raditz arrives, and of course, Goku dies. Maybe it's at this point, thanks in part to his training with King Kai, that Goku starts to suspect he's capable of more than he realized. Of course, what I'm referring to is his telepathic abilities. And so during his fight with Vegeta, Goku is pushed to his absolute limit, and he's forced to do something he's never done before. Try communicating telepathically, and thanks to that, he is able to stop Krillin from killing Vegeta. Then Goku goes to Namek, and something really interesting happens here. He starts to use a different uniform. When he arrives on Namek, he's not wearing the Turtle Hermit uniform. He's not wearing the Kaiô uniform. He's wearing the Go uniform. The Go is, of course, the first character from Goku's name. This character can refer to enlightenment or a realization. So this change in Goku's outfit is really deep. It tells us that he's no longer a pupil. He is a master. And it tells us that Goku has reached a whole new level of spiritual awareness. Perhaps some kind of enlightenment. And so to me, this explains why he decides to try to read Krillin's mind on Namek. Up until then, he might not have done that, but he's now aware of his own abilities on a whole new level. And so he suspects that he might be able to do that thing that Karin had done to him so many years earlier. And of course, it ends up working. And so this confirms that Goku is indeed a sennin. But what do you think? Do you like my theory, or do you have your own theory? Let me know down in the comments. Now that we've gone over all of that, it's time to go back and see how the English dub of Dragon Ball handled the scene where Karin explains why he can read minds.
What? How could you know all of that when I didn't even say anything about it?
I read minds. But don't worry, kid, there weren't that many chapters.
Amazing.
Thanks, but you're an easy audience. Pure minds are like looking through glass.
Look, this is funny, but it doesn't explain why Karin can read minds. Combine that with the fact that many English-speaking Dragon Ball fans haven't seen or read the Dragon Ball portion of the Dragon Ball story, and well, it's easy to see why so many English-speaking Dragon Ball fans think that Goku's telepathic powers come out of absolutely nowhere. So to go back to that Reddit post I showed you, the reason why Goku's ability to read minds is never explained is because it was already explained by the time he uses these powers. And the reason why it's never brought up again is because, well, Toriyama never felt like using them again. And let's be real here, one reason why Goku has telepathic powers, and Karin has telepathic powers, and Master Roshi has telepathic powers is that it made Toriyama's job a whole lot easier. As we all know, Toriyama loved to be as efficient as possible. So by having a character read another character's mind, instead of having a character explain a whole bunch of stuff the reader already knows, Toriyama was able to save himself a lot of work and time. But drawing on Taoism and sennin in order to explain these mystical powers makes sense within the context of Dragon Ball, especially given its focus on martial arts and training. Anyway, like I was saying, why is the whole Goku reading minds thing never brought up again? Well, because Toriyama never felt like using it again, but also it seems that the plot never really required it. And I will add one more thing. The evidence seems to suggest that Goku's telepathic powers don't function anytime, anywhere, in any way. What I mean by that is that there are probably limitations on his powers. And once again, we can go back to the first time Goku meets Karin to find some evidence of this. So Karin says that Goku's mind is especially easy to read. This no doubt is an allusion to the fact that Goku, well, he's simple-minded. In other words, he's not all that smart. But also, it may be a reference to the fact that Goku is pure of heart. I say this because in Japanese, Karin uses the word kokoro, and kokoro can mean heart and mind. So in a sense, there's a bit of a double meaning there. So if I were to extrapolate on that, I would say that maybe Goku's mind is so easy to read because, yeah, there's not much in there, but also because he is so pure of heart. Now, Karin's statement, along with my interpretation, implies that there are people whose minds are hard to read. That, combined with the fact that Goku isn't just going around reading everybody's mind, to me implies that, yeah, even if you can read somebody's mind because you're a sennin, doesn't mean that you can read anybody and everybody's mind in every single context. And maybe sennin are like Jedi. Some Jedi are better at using certain force abilities, others are better at others. Perhaps some sennin are better at reading minds, some are better at communicating telepathically. We don't know, right? There's minimal information to draw on, but it's something interesting to think about. But here's one last thing. Sennin are known to have extremely long lives, or just be flat out immortal. So if Goku's a sennin, does that mean that he's also immortal? Well, I would say that he is immortal, but it's not because he's a sennin. It's because he is one of the most profitable anime characters to have ever existed. And Toei Shueisha and Bandai will not let him die as long as he's making them money. You must spend all your money on Goku merch! Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.